Despite tokens looking like this, falling from over $230 million market cap all the way down to $30 million market cap in literally 1 week, Alex Becker and CryptoGodJohn are extremely bullish on altcoins, especially coming into October. We are going to investigate them addressing massive pullbacks like the OVPP and the EMDR tokens and try to understand their thesis on how they can still be bullish after insane drawdowns like this. Because after all, what we do on the channel is we study the best investors in the world of crypto specifically, figure out how they turned thousands of dollars into millions so that we can copy trade them and do the same. And it's been a rough week / rough month. Despite MIX and M being massive green bubbles on the screen, guys, these are the top 100 cryptos. And this is the sentiment of the entire market, where you literally have down 20%. Our SPX is down 20% here. ICP, all these big layer ones, even down 53, 40%. Really massive pullbacks on altcoins. Once again, like I'm saying, despite this, Alex Becker has never been so bullish. He says, alt buys from here are going to gigaprint, including giving specifics here. I'm going to give 2 more specifics in this video. The response here was that desync buys are going to gigaprint here. Alex Becker says yes. In fact, Alex Becker says he's adding a lot of money to Alex Becker. It has to be 8 figures, otherwise it's not going to be a lot. Right now, this is September 26th, so 2 days ago. He says, embrace the terror. Even though alts look like hell on earth right now, the asymmetric risk return has never been this good. CryptoGodJohn is backing this sentiment. He's saying trillions of dollars is about to enter the market. In fact, Alex Becker could not be more direct than this tweet from yesterday. He says, you will regret not turning off your brain to this fear and all this massive pullbacks, which I'm going to show you a bit more of and why it's happening in a second, and loading up on alts just like he is. He's massively loaded up on alts, say high 7 figures to low 8 figures, which is a massive amount for him. He says there's very few of us left still buying, and the ones that do will inherit the earth. Now, this seems crazy again, because look at fear at the moment, guys, and you're probably feeling it if you're on Twitter, if you're looking at your own portfolios. It's had a massive pullback all the way from the reds, the hot red zone where we had a confirmed alt season, at least on the indicator, all the way pulling back to some pretty crazy fear that we haven't seen since April after that massive January run-up. And if you go to crypto market cap, you sort by even just the last week, you can see that pump funds down 30%, stories down 29%, SPX down 23%, dog with hat, all these down double digits, which in the altcoin world, especially within the top 100, is a pretty crazy week. But the best traders in the world are saying this. They're saying this was projected. This has literally been written and talked about since every single halving year and every single election year, which fall in the same year. We've had a red September from 2013 to 2017 to 2021, and some massive red Septembers. September is not normally a good month for Bitcoin and the crypto market. And in 2025, they're predicting, once again, it would be a red September. In fact, Colin from Colin Talks Crypto was speaking about the massive pullback in September on the M2 money supply that he thought would hit the crypto market as well. But people are saying we forgot about this because the start of September was green. The interest rates got cut and everyone was excited to absolutely skyrocket into profit town. CryptoGodJohn has acknowledged one thing that is doing really well. Now, Hyperliquid, which is the 11th biggest crypto in the entire world, ran up from a $6 price per token to $60 at some serious volume. Like you could literally move tens of millions of dollars in and hundreds of millions of dollars out if you time this play correctly. Then we had Mix Finance, which was the Chinese competitor to something like Hyperliquid, went from $9 all the way up to the $15 and really has sat there steady once again in the billions of dollars of market cap. You can move a lot of money into these tokens. The recent one, which was backed by Binance, CZ was shilling it at one point, has gone from 10 cents all the way up to $2.50, a nice 20x for those who are playing this with liquidity, guys, with billions of dollars. If you don't understand what that means, if the market cap and liquidity is not enough, you can only move $5,000, $10,000 in, maybe $20,000, $30,000 out. But if you've got massive tokens like this, you have whales who can literally buy hundreds of millions of dollars of this coin and take hundreds of millions out without crazy impacting the price, which is the plays that people wait for. Then you have Apex Protocol, which was the new name in the game. We might talk about this later this week. CryptoGodJohn is all of a sudden extremely bullish. I believe it's Bybit's perpetual DEX, and it's gone from 20 cents all the way up to $2 very, very quickly following this narrative hype. CryptoGodJohn says, the shift to utility away from meme coins is exactly what we needed for the altcoin market. And this is what John is using as his hypothesis for the other riskier utility altcoins, which are down. I'm going to show you in detail what's happening there. He believes that they are going to pop up because the bigger layer 1 utility tokens are currently popping up. In fact, Alex Becker believes the same. Altcoins, utility altcoins, these aren't meme coins. It's the utility altcoin buyers from here are going to gigaprint. In fact, OVPP, which was the graph I showed you at the start, this crazy fall off from a 250 mil market cap down to a $35 million market cap, which is like an 80% plus fall, has started to rebound. And if you follow CryptoGodJohn, he's still extremely bullish, doubling down on his thesis despite this 80% pullback, as the token has actually been performing extremely well, giving a nice 2.5x off the bottom. And Becker's thesis and John's thesis seem to go hand in hand, which is why I'm personally listening, because they're both far outtraded me and my results in the markets, and they have the exact same thesis at the moment, which is this. Becker says, if altcoins were easy to hold, consistently went up, and were predictable, they would already be in the tens of billions of dollars, and they would not give us the 20 to 30x gains that people come to crypto for. Not just crypto, but outside those layer 1 tokens that Becker says to stick to if you can't handle this volatility. He says, this is where we earn it, gents, by doing and surviving what other investors and gamblers will not. Now, this comment was actually very fascinating. This is what a lot of people are thinking, because he's like, okay, yeah, Becker has called alt season for the last 10 months, and we've seen some crazy gains. We've seen some 10x's, some 15, some 20x's on Alex Becker's tokens, but a lot of them have undone those gains and maybe even gone further into the negatives. And Keandra says, it would have been better to wait until now to buy. So if we didn't listen to his alt calls all throughout the year, some of these altcoins are at all-time lows. Why were we buying when they were in the middle area prices? Why didn't we just wait until now? Even better to have sold everything when they rallied, did those 6 to 10x's, and then just bought back now. This season is not great for holding so far. Now, Alex Becker's response is actually pretty hilarious, and I'll show you why it makes a lot of sense. He says, oh wow, I forgot about perfectly reading and timing the markets with flawless swing trades. Why didn't I just do that? And guys, this is what Becker's talked about all year. And we use the BNB chart because Becker uses the BNB chart back in 2021 when this thing chopped and then rocketed. That's the terms that we have introduced. You can see this looks like it's been a flat line for years. If we take out the rocket, if we take out the exponential gains, you can see it hasn't. And what I think Keandra was saying is like, oh, we should have just bought this dip, sold this high, bought this dip, sold this high, all the way into the massive 30 to 100x return. And Becker is saying, well, first of all, if you can do that, you don't need the 30x returns anyway. You can just swing trade the perfect market and make billions of dollars. But even if you have a slight advantage and think you can do this, you don't want to miss that 30x return. For example, if you sell this high right here at $39, having bought way back in at $5, you're going to miss most of your gains as it rallies to over $130 and then even further than that, over $600. Becker's saying, turn off your brain, hold these altcoins until we see this rocket phase, this exponential massive candle as mainstream media, as the Fed continues to cut interest rates and more money, as John says, trillions of dollars flows into these altcoins. That is what we're waiting for. Everything in the meantime is just wasting our time. And he literally says, turn off your brain. Of which, before we get into specific tokens that Alex Becker is tripling down on, I want to show you that second half of Alex Becker's thesis, because we can talk about the Fed cutting interest rates, we can talk about the M2 money supply, we can talk about quantitative easing and how we're going to have a massive upcycle that is due in the macro economy, but Becker has a really strong indicator on whether we've topped yet or not. He wrote here, anything below $4,000 ETH is a gift. We'll look back at this and giggle. And everybody in the comments was basically saying that he is wrong. And this is his signal that we are not topped. And funny enough, I got a lot of views for a reply comment. He says, lol, read the comments. I'm so bullish. If everyone in his comments are saying, yes, we're going to go so much higher, 90% of the time, they're going to be wrong. It does not look like a top when everyone is bearish. That is normally a dip that goes on to accelerate into a massive 30 to 100x return every 4 to 5 years. Apparently, people are calling a 5-year market now. And you can see that OVPP with CryptoGodJohn and Becker both backing this token has had that massive reclaim, and also the founder of OVPP has done extremely well. Why did it dip in the first place? If you guys aren't aware, Zach XBT posted an expose on OVPP about them hiding a statement that one of their partnerships was not as legitimate as it seemed. It crashed absolutely massively, and then the founder actually has handled it really well. He's addressed all the FUD, he's corrected and apologized for misrepresenting things, and he's out there still hustling for his bags, and it has been a strong bounce back, getting back to a $100 million market cap. In fact, in response to OVPP's post, Becker says poor panic sellers. He thinks that this is still on the road to billions. But that's not the only token that he's extremely bullish on. EMDR, or Modulr, was another one of the CryptoGodJohn and Becker tokens, and even a partner with us here on the channel. And Ash says, what the hell is going on? He doesn't. He just says EMDR, question mark, being like, is this in the same bucket as OVPP? Becker says it's similar, which is it's being oversold right now. Because if we go to the EMDR graph, you can see not only did this have a couple of really nice run-ups, including the one from 20 mil all the way up to a $45 million market cap, this thing had a crazy fall off, guys, all the way down to a $2 million market cap, which is stronger than the OVPP fall off. But look at what's happened. It's also had a really strong bounce, and actually quite a crazy bounce in terms of multiples and ROI for anyone who was smart enough to catch the bottom, all the way up to a $14 million market cap, a 7x from that bottom. And CryptoGodJohn has doubled down on his backing and partnership with EMDR, as has Alex Becker. In fact, Alex Becker responded to Baron von Holland saying, what happened to EMDR, good sir? Alex Becker said, I talked with the team this morning. Everyone is still working. People are just totally overreacting to crap right now, and paper thin liquidity, just like I was talking about high liquidity in those massive tokens that people can move lots of money out. When there is bearish news crossed with a bearish market and low liquidity, these tokens can absolutely nuke. The low caps will nuke with low liquidity and poor markets and poor narratives. In fact, Modulr is still working way harder than normal, putting out this massive update on exactly what they're doing. Remember, EMDR is CryptoGodJohn's 100x play in the robotics niche, and one of Becker's top 2 robotics plays this season. And in fact, Becker's going to be doing a robotics video in the next couple of days. Obviously, he's going to be highlighting something like Modulr. But in response to this massive, productive work week and roadmap from EMDR, CryptoGodJohn says, we love to see it. Jimbo also putting that handshake emoji in there. They are sticking by their prediction and believe that alt buys from here are going to gigaprint. If we wanted to be triple sure, the Infidel says, your recommendations of OVPP and EMDR tanking after you mention them in your latest videos, starting not to pass the smell test. This was just a couple of days ago. Becker says, I met with both projects this week to ask them what is going on. He says, my conclusion is people are overreacting and liquidity is so low that these mid and low caps are way oversold. Nothing major changed with the projects, just my 2 cents. And so you can draw the conclusion that Alex Becker is extremely bullish on the robotics niche. He's extremely bullish on the EMDR token, and he's extremely bullish on crypto in general. He says if this is the top, despite all the macroeconomic factors pointing to the fact, including a crypto social sentiment pointing to the fact it's not the top, but if it was the top, you're going to lose 50% on majors and 70% on mid to low cap alts. That's how it will play out. If it's not the top, you're going to make 4 to 5x on majors and 10 to 20x. You remember that chop and then that rocket zone. That's where you get that 20x return on mid to low cap alts like EMDR. This is the most lopsided bet you'll ever see in finance. Don't overthink it. It's simply not worth a shot. He's tripling down and he is solidifying his stance even on his YouTube channel. He's saying that 4,900 ETH was not the top and it was not even close to the top. There's a video dropping tomorrow on this, like for cool points. Also talking robotics and energy coins, obviously EMDR and probably OVPP. Followed by streams next week on Pump. We are just starting. They believe that this is the beginning. They believe the September chop was predicted, and we're going to have an extremely bullish 6 to 12 months, potentially even a 5-year cycle this time. A lot of people are getting tired. A lot of people think these influencers literally just pumping and dumping coins. Guys, we track Alex Becker's wallet, we track CryptoGodJohn's wallet. Neither of them have sold any of these tokens in that massive pullback. They are extremely bullish. They're playing the asymmetric risk return. I can understand if a lot of people are not bullish right now if they do not know how the market works, and there is a small chance that they could be right. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.